welcome to episode number 7 of The Confidence Switch: How to Change Careers and Still Love Your Life. I'm your host, Shamika Williams, and during this particular episode, we're going to talk about the leftovers. Now, this is not a sexy title for this particular section of the book, but I would say it's pretty accurate. The reason being is that there was a lot of information that I wanted to include in the book, but I didn't quite know where to put it. And so I created a section where I pretty much put all of the leftover information. So there are a few things that I actually tackle in this particular section. One of the main things that I chose to focus on was some very non tangible skills that I felt would be beneficial to share and to discuss with individuals who are looking to transition careers. What I found based on my observation and my interaction with a lot of individuals who are seeking to change careers is that there was a big focus on hard skills. Everyone was focused on the type of technology they were using, the type of skills they were learning, SQL, coding. They're in taking these different courses, project management, data analysis. Everybody's learning, getting all of this information. Yet, what I also observed is that there was room for development of some when I say non, but it's development of some soft skills. And these are skills in terms of how to interact with people, how to have conversation and engage with individuals who may have an opinion that may differ, how to say what you have to say, but say it in maybe a more diplomatic way. And granted, yes, this is social media. Um, it's not work per se, but there are hiring managers and recruiters and other eyes in these groups. So when you're engaging and you're interacting and it's not in a professional manner, you don't know who it is that maybe has access or is able to see how you choose to engage. So I felt like it was important to, one, tackle some of those soft skills. I felt that it was important to help people understand that the hard skills are only part of the journey, but being able to be emotionally mature is very important. Knowing how to interact and engage with your peers is very important. Having the ability to have the perseverance to overcome the challenges that you're going to face, it's going to be very important. So there are a lot of I keep saying non, but there are a lot of hard skills that are beneficial, but the soft skills are what's not being talked about. And I felt like it was important to really talk about and address those things because they get overlooked. People don't realize that they are important and that they show up and they say a lot about you when you don't realize they're talking about you. So let's talk about giving an example of that. Integrity. It's one of the things that I talk about. And it's important to, and I say important a lot, it's important to realize that this is something that you carry with you all day, every day. So there are questions about whether or not you should embellish on your resume. And from an integrity standpoint, that's where you have to realize that maybe that's not maybe, it's not the best thing to do for you to tell lies or list anything that's not true on your resume. Now, of course, there's room for creativity. There's room for some flexibility. There are definitely some gray areas, but you don't want to say that you have a skill set or experience in an area that you don't. So integrity is something to take into consideration, because at some point you may be called out on it, and how are you going to deal with that? And once somebody becomes aware that you are playing in that particular sandbox, that impacts your chances of being able to work with those individuals, and you might not you might just really destroy your chances of being able to progress in a specific career. So you want to take those things into consideration. I also talk about let's see, just the emotional intelligence piece. being aware of what to say and what not to say. When is the right time? When is the right, not the right time to maybe share certain information, knowing when not to tell a joke and when a joke is not appropriate, knowing when to hold back and when maybe to lean in. It's important to know and have an understanding and be able to pick up on what's going on in the environment in which you're in so that you are making the right decisions. When you are so focused on you and what you want and what you think, it can be easy to really tune out what's going on with everyone else. And so that's when you may say something because it's in your mind, not realizing that the room is not ready for that conversation, or that the room doesn't want to hear that particular comment. Or maybe that's something you need to talk to someone about one on one. And so being aware of everything that's going on around you is also very important so that you are interacting with individuals in a way that's going to be very productive and healthy. But in addition to the non-tangibles that I talk about and all the soft skills that I believe are important to transitioning careers, I also um, chose to discuss just some random, very random tips that I felt were important to share. These are some things that I personally learned based on my experience transitioning careers. And probably one of the biggest lessons that I learned is becoming aware of what your benefit situation will look like once you decide to submit your letter of resignation with your current employer. In my particular case, I resigned maybe I might have turned my resignation in the month of April, possibly. I forget. No, but I know my resignation date was in May. And come to find out that I would have until the end of the month. I would have benefits until the end of the month. And so this was something that I didn't really have an awareness of before transitioning. And then oftentimes with transitioning to a new company, you may not be fully aware of when the new benefit situation is going to fully kick in or how it's going to work. Some of those things are really unknown to you until you start. And so for me, um, my start date was on May 16th. And I broke my foot on May 15th. So the day before I started my new job, I broke my foot. Now, that was totally random. I've never broken a bone ever before in my life, but it happened. And so what it made me do is reflect on what if I had stopped working at my previous employer, say in April, and then started the new job in May. Like, what if it fell on one of those kind of right at the end of the month, right at the beginning of the month type of changeovers? I would have been without insurance because the insurance for the new job didn't kick in until June 1st. So it just so happens that things worked out for me. But being aware of what that looks like and what to expect and how to prepare is very important, because you may not have a situation where you have a medical emergency to some extent like I did. You may be in a situation where it's just getting a prescription refilled. Maybe it's not you, maybe it's someone that's in your family that's on your policy. Having an awareness of how all of that plays out during the transition is something that's important. So the other things I tackle in this particular section are just some of those things that I become hyper aware of just based off of my experience, such as making sure you're prepared financially for that transition. You go from being paid, twice a month or every other week. Some companies may pay you twice a month, the 1st and the 15th, or the 15th and the 30th. Other companies may pay you every other week, right? So you go from maybe a 24-week or 24 pay periods to 26 pay periods. Now I get paid every week. So I got 52 pay periods. All of those different things you want to take into consideration so that you are prepared financially to make that adjustment. And you can be prepared to take on whatever challenges, or that's not the right word. You can be prepared to navigate the adjustments. Let's say that you can navigate the adjustments, because I'm a person that's pretty strict about how I pay my bills. I like to do things in a systematic way. And so that's important for me, because I don't like to be all over the place when it comes to, paying bills. I like things to be in a system. And knowing exactly, or having that cushion so that you can navigate and maintain that system, at least for me, was important, so that I didn't have to feel like I was struggling or scrambling trying to figure anything out. I knew that I could go ahead and continue paying things the way that I like to pay them until I could create a new system around the new pay schedule. So I include tons of value in this particular section of the book. Like I said, I call it the leftovers here on the podcast, but it really is a section full of great valuable information to help you on your transition journey. So I want to thank you so much for tuning in to this particular episode of the Confidence Switch: How to Change Careers and Still Love Your Life. And tune in next week, where we're going to have the series finale, and we're going to go from there. So I thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great day, and peace.